Welcome to First Mover, your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and joining me are my co-host, CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets, Lawrence Luton, as well as Managing Director of International Content, Emily Parker. Good morning, Emily and Lawrence.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. All is very sunny in Puerto Rico. By the way, I had the chance to go to the Puerto Rico Crypto Monday and saw a lot of the community here. So if you're out of Puerto Rico, hit me up on Twitter at Christine News. Would love to meet up. It's been a fun time. All right, let's have a live look at Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is currently trading at $56,127. Bitcoin is down about 1.3% over the past 24 hours. And the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is going up about 1.2%. ETH trading at $4,223. And the new DFX CoinDesk's DeFi index is at 552 points. DeFi is in retreat about 0.9%. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. So some mixed results in the crypto markets right now. And looking at our top story, moving markets, a bill has been submitted to Indian Parliament banning private cryptocurrencies to make way for the digital rupee, a central bank digital currency. Emily, folks were hoping the bill would be a little more crypto-friendly, but I guess that wasn't the case.
Yes. I mean, India has been quite a roller coaster when it comes to cryptocurrencies. It's a really important market for crypto. Now we have this bill ostensibly to ban most cryptocurrencies, but some people are saying that the bill might be the same as a draft that was submitted in January. And yeah, it's really hard to know what's going to happen. India seems to go up and down all the time.
And Lawrence, is this having an impact on the markets?
Well, yeah. When it comes to the Bitcoin market, no. Outside of India, I mean, Bitcoin continues to kind of drift down. Some of the alts are up. So it looks like there's a rotation out of Bitcoin and into the alts, or into ETH at least, and the like. But what was interesting to note, of course, is that Tether itself traded at a huge discount in India for a brief moment in time. People, I guess, trying to cash out of their Tether. You had something like 20-ish%, 25-ish% or so difference, spread between what Tether's trading on par at, let's say, the likes of, I don't know, Bitfinex or, whatever, Binance. Mm-hmm. You had that, and Binance's India subsidiary was trading it at a discount. And that's just people trying to get out. But it's since recovered from that. So that was a temporary mm-hmm. sell-off in Tether. Well, but now it's back to par-ish or so, a little bit above.
In addition to that, I did see that on Indian exchanges, they did have a huge decline, but that didn't impact non-Indian exchanges as much. All right. Well, in contrast to India, we look at El Salvador with our spotlight guest.
The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
El Salvador making a bold and historic move, raising $1 billion for Bitcoin bonds to build a Bitcoin city and buy more Bitcoin. Well, this has been widely celebrated by many in the crypto community. International organizations like the IMF have been less enthusiastic, releasing a report saying Bitcoin should not be used as legal tender and recommending a winding down of El Salvador's $150 million trust fund created to facilitate the exchange between Bitcoin and US dollars. Joining us now to discuss is Ambassador of El Salvador to the United States, Milena Mayorga. Hello there, Ambassador. Pleasure to have you on the show. So Moody's has downgraded El Salvador partially because of the Bitcoin law making Bitcoin legal tender, and the IMF is critical. They have a loan agreement with El Salvador worth over $1 billion. Now, what El Salvador is embarking upon is incredibly ambitious, but are you concerned about burning bridges with international organizations?
Not at all. We're very enthusiastic as a government and President Bukele leadership, and we understand that he wants to move El Salvador to a different level. And that's why we implemented the Bitcoin law and the Bitcoin as a legal tender in El Salvador. And also the plans are, big. We're wanting to build the Bitcoin city in which you can invest, have a lot of advantages to live in, and it's going to be a city of the future. And I know the concerns here in Washington D.C. is about losing power, losing the power of the dollar, and we can understand that. But El Salvador has to move on, and El Salvador is wanted to, as I said, to be in a different level. We have a past of 30 years of corruption, and our last leaders didn't do like very intelligent moves. And that's why the people of El Salvador are understanding that President Bukele has a different view and a different leadership, and he's a very intelligent leader. So we are looking at the advantages. For example, we just had a lot of investors, tourism in El Salvador right now. El Salvador is in the spotlight around the world. And if our model works and succeeds, a lot of countries are watching us. And that's why they're afraid of.
Ambassador, just to follow up on that point, is there any element? So El Salvador is obviously betting big on Bitcoin. Is part of this strategy to get some sort of financial independence from institutions like the IMF, or even some sort of independence from the United States? Is that a part of the consideration here?
Well, right now, our cabinet are still working with the traditional financial system. But we want to move on and have different alternatives. And I think this is going to happen sooner or later, not only for El Salvador, but different countries. Right now, we have to do it in the traditional way. That's why we have a dollar also as a legal tender in El Salvador. We don't have colones anymore, which was our national currency. And right now, we have to deal with these two legal tenders in my country and see how it works to have these two alternatives.
I guess, thank you for that clarification. I guess my question is also just, with the issuing of the Bitcoin bond, El Salvador in the past has had some tension with the IMF, as Christine referenced. Is this kind of a way for El Salvador to sort of depend on have another source of financing, and thus, grant itself a little bit of independence from the IMF specifically?
As I said, we have two different legal tenders, and we have to see two different ways of funding our government, our country. And that's why the Bitcoin bonds, and this is a different strategy. And I understand that they're afraid and they're concerned, because if we succeed, as I said, a lot of countries are looking at us and they will follow, our leadership. So it's a different way of financing our government, and we'll see. I think that the cabinet, they're very smart. Our economic cabinet, very smart, and they're looking different panoramas right now.
Madam Ambassador, thank you for coming on. My question is, has the Biden administration expressed any opinion on this bond issuance to you directly or to the government of El Salvador? And do you see El Salvador issuing bonds that aren't US dollar denominated or even Bitcoin denominated, but let's say euro denominated anytime soon?
Not yet. Not yet. We have conversations all the time, and their concern was about the Bitcoin implementation in El Salvador, but not about the bonds. And I think we have to have the conversation, but we are, an independent country. So they have to accept our movements, and understand that we are wanting to take El Salvador to a different level. And with the traditional system, is very hard, very difficult for us.
Is it surprising that you haven't heard yet from the Biden administration? Did you expect to hear anything from them at all?
they're very focused on different topics, governance, right now a law that is in the General Assembly about the nonprofit organizations. So, there's a lot of things that they are wanting to talk with us today. I'm going to the Department of State, and we'll see if they're going to talk about the Bitcoin bonds. Mm-hmm. We'll see. I'll find out today.
Ambassador, your U.S. counterpart, Jean Maines, left her position as U.S. ambassador to El Salvador, citing deteriorating relations with your country as the reason. Specifically, she said, "Why am I going to stay here if we don't have a counterpart at this time? When El Salvador wants to talk, our doors are always open." What do you think she means by that?
I think Jean Maines was in my country with a different politicians at that time. I was in the Congress. I was a congresswoman. And, there was a different government. And she tried to implement the same tactics, and you cannot do it. You have to accept that the Salvadorian populations gave us the supermajority in the Congress. And, President Bukele right now has 95% of approval, national approval. And if you see President Biden, he doesn't have any, he doesn't have 1 year in government, and he has very low approval. So they have their own opinion. We're always open to dialogue and to put our concerns in the table, but we're an independent country. So they have to accept that, we have our own decisions.
Ambassador, just going back to this big bet on Bitcoin. So one of the questions that some people in the crypto community have been raising is that, Bitcoin is a famously volatile currency. And if Bitcoin continues to rise, then this could be really great for El Salvador. But if it crashes, it could be kind of problematic. So what is the plan if Bitcoin crashes or if Bitcoin doesn't rise to the extent that some people are hoping?
Well, I think that question is for the economic cabinet because they are the ones that are implementing all these financial plans. But I understand that if they're doing this, it's because they have a goal that Bitcoin is going to keep going up, and we can have a profit of this. Bitcoin, of course, it goes up, it goes down. But we are surrounded by the experts in cryptocurrencies. Well, let me tell you that we implemented the national wallet, Chivo wallet, and I want to give you some numbers. In 2 months, we have made the Salvadorian people to be a part of this new system. Around 80% of them right now, they're using the Chivo wallet, and from the United States, they're sending the remittances at zero cost. Almost $32 million we have received in remittances through the Chivo wallet. And the Chivo wallet came with the Bitcoin law. And the Chivo wallet makes you decide if you want to send money in Bitcoin or in dollars. The cost of sending remittances to El Salvador in the traditional system, generally it costs you around $400 to $700 million. And right now with the Chivo wallet, they're not spending any cent to send money to their families in El Salvador. So this is one of the big advantages. And also, we have a lot of tourism right now in El Salvador, and they were using the Chivo wallet to make transactions. And you can buy anything in El Salvador with Bitcoin. You can buy sodas, pay taxes, pay hotels and everything. So, it's a different country. Right now, we have different alternatives, but it's your choice. You can choose if you want to use dollar or Bitcoin. That's the wonderful thing. We're a land of freedom too, so you can decide if you want to send your remittances in dollar or Bitcoin and use our national wallet, or use the traditional system in which a lot of Salvadorian people in the United States, they don't have banking accounts. It's tough for them because they don't have financial inclusion. And with the Chivo wallet, we are seeing that almost 4 million people are using it right now in 2 months. More download of this app than the traditional banking apps.
Madam Ambassador, these bonds will be listed on Bitfinex. Do you know if President Bukele met with Bitfinex's CEO or CFO to discuss this?
Well, he has been having a lot of private reunions and meetings with the big guys in the Bitcoin industry and in the cryptocurrency industry, blockchain, and much more. And he will continue having the best advice from the people that can help El Salvador.
Do we know if Bitfinex has agreed, or its sister company Tether has agreed to purchase any or a significant amount of these bonds prior to its listing?
Well, I heard that a lot of companies are very interested to put money in El Salvador in the Bitcoin bonds. So that's why we think this is going to be a very successful plan for our country.
Are you able to name any of the companies?
Not yet. I think the announcement has to be, from the President of the Republic of El Salvador. He's going to give some names very soon. But as an ambassador of the United States, let me tell you, a lot of U.S. companies are calling us to be part of this, to go to El Salvador, to have private meetings with the president, to have calls with him. And they're Americans, and they have the companies here in the U.S.
Excellent. Well, critics have nevertheless expressed concern over President Bukele reducing public information, removing over 200 judges and prosecutors under new caps and on age and years of service, essentially accusing him of authoritarian tendencies. How do you address this criticism?
Well, that's part of the, public media that we have against the President Bukele, which there were on the government for the last 30 years. It's not easy to lose power. It's not easy to lose the traditional way they're used to have things done in El Salvador. But when you see that you have the 90% of the population with the President Bukele, is because all the decisions we're making are for the big majority of Salvadorians, not for the status quo, for the owners of the big companies in El Salvador that used to handle and, the movements in the Congress, in the government. So if the people are happy with President Bukele, it's because they're feeling that, not only feeling, but experimenting that everything is changing for them in education, in health, in security, which is very important issue in my country. And because they're receiving, the treatment that all Salvadorians deserve. That's why he has 95% of approval. Think about it. Why? Because the Salvadorian people are receiving, a special treatment right now. And for example, in the COVID times, they receive a lot of aid. They receive the vaccines, the best vaccines in the world right now. We are vaccinating tourism.
Right.
We're ahead. We're leaders in the region in the COVID plan. So the Salvadorian families are very intelligent, and they're experimenting a different way of.
It's an incredible project, very innovative, on the cutting edge of innovation. So really excited to see how it goes through. We'll certainly be covering it. Thank you for coming on to the show. That was El Salvador Ambassador to the United States, Milena Mayorga. Coming up, we'll be checking in on Asia and a crypto markets update with Osprey Funds. Time now for the daily forecast, an update on what's happening in the Asia crypto markets. Here's Angie Lau of Forecast News.
Welcome to the Daily Forecast, November 24th, 2021. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forecast News, covering all things blockchain. Well, in India, despite earlier reassurances from the finance minister that cryptocurrencies would not be banned, the government has now listed a bill seeking to do exactly that. We're going to take a look at what that could mean for the industry and investors in the country, and a whole lot more coming up. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world. Let's kick off with some of the top stories out of Asia today. First up, Australia's Securities and Investments Commission has accused the owners of Gold Coast-based business A1 Multi of scamming 92 people out of 25 million Australian dollars. That's 18 million US dollars. The agency is now trying to gain access to a cold wallet believed to hold almost 20 million US dollars worth of Bitcoin purchased with the defrauded funds. Meanwhile, South Korea is looking into increasing punishment to meet the crime when it comes to crypto. The country's Financial Services Commission submitting basic outlines for stronger laws for the crypto market to the National Assembly for review. Now, the law aims to better protect investors from fraudulent or unfair trading practices, and you can find out a whole lot more at forecast.news. Meanwhile, the government's stance on crypto is an even hotter topic in India. Though a parliamentary meeting just last week reached a consensus that cryptocurrencies should be regulated instead of being banned, the government has now apparently done a 180 and listed a bill that seeks to ban all private crypto. Forecast News' Monica Ghosh has more from India.
The legislation entitled the Cryptocurrency and Regulation of Official Digital Currency Bill 2021 says it seeks to create a facilitative framework for creation of the official digital currency. However, it also seeks to prohibit all private cryptocurrencies in India, albeit with some exceptions to promote the underlying technology of blockchain and its uses. One investor told Forecast News it's very unclear what that actually means.
So right now, for investors, for people who are actually building applications in the cryptocurrency or decentralized ledger tech industry, it is a wait and watch game.
Gaitonde says that whatever the bill includes, he hopes the government tackles key issues including investor protection, law and order, taxing economic activity, and encouraging innovation all in one go rather than in a piecemeal fashion. For Forecast News, I'm Monica Ghosh, Pune, India.
Well, the metaverse is heating up, and to help us understand it and how it's defining decentralized pop culture, our NFT Insider, Duke Liu, Executive Chairman of Spores Network, a cross-chain DeFi-powered NFT marketplace, is back in the hot seat. Duke, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Angie.
Okay, the latest, of course, is that the Winklevoss twins are dropping a cool $400 million to build their vision of a decentralized metaverse. This shakes things up a bit, doesn't it?
It means that the world of walled gardens, like Facebook, etc., Web 2.0 companies, want a piece of this the metaverse that Zuckerberg keeps talking about. And the Winklevoss twins are, of course, very much Web3. And so they're saying, you know what, we're going to raise a treasure chest to fight for decentralization. So really that's what it's going to be, a fight between the walled gardens who want to say, here, there's only one metaverse in which we can exist.
Yeah, no more walled gardens. The overgrowth is absolutely honing in on that, including South Korea. It's emerging as quite the hub for metaverse. We've seen home shopping businesses joining, banks jumping on the bandwagon, though gaming authorities are trying to clamp down on NFT games. But the physical and virtual worlds are set to meet in the metaverse in South Korea. What's your perspective there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've seen for the last, decade or so, Asia very much leapfrogging old technologies and adopting new technologies much faster than the West, right? I mean, we saw that with WeChat.
And that is the NFT insight from our NFT Insider. Duke Liu, thank you so much. Executive Chairman, Spores Network. Thanks again for joining us. And thank you for joining us. That's the daily forecast from our vantage point right here in Asia. For more, visit forecast.news. I'm Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Until the next time.
The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager.
All right, checking in on Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index currently trading at $56,167. Bitcoin is down about 1.75% over the past 24 hours. The CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is at $4,213. ETH slightly rising about 0.9%. And the DFX CoinDesk DeFi index right now is at 554 points, down about 2.5%. Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Greg King, founder and CEO of crypto investment firm Osprey Funds. Hello there, Greg. Great to have you here. So, taking a look at the mixed background we're seeing in the crypto markets right now, what's your outlook? And are the markets potentially just taking a break heading into the holidays?
Yeah, I think so. So you're starting to see kind of the year-end churn with.
I think you're on
people.
mute, Greg.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, no, you're good.
And I'm not on mute. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think you're starting to see the year-end activity. A lot of gains on the books for a lot of people, and people may want to take some of those in this year. But we're of course remain long-term bullish and. Just watching the show previous to my coming on with what's happening in El Salvador and with NFTs, et cetera, we just continue to build and try and create access for investors to this exciting marketplace.
So, Greg, how discouraged are the markets right now going into the new year, though? I mean, we're kind of inching lower and lower. Is there a threat that we could be triggering some liquidations in the near future? And would that cause just general malaise, if you will, in Bitcoin if it can't get over, let's say, 55, 60 by December 31st?
I don't know that I could be that specific in terms of a price target. Really, the catalyst for a major move higher would be a breakout beyond previous all-time highs, right, which are in the mid-60s. I think right now it's more of a churn. I wouldn't call it a malaise. I think there's just too many on-ramps being built, especially to Bitcoin at an institutional level. But then, crypto generally extends so much beyond the selling points of Bitcoin and an alternative to gold with what's happening with Web 3.0, the metaverse, which everybody's all over, et cetera. So I just see far too much momentum pushing into the sector for any significant drawdown that's extended. It seems to me, on an anecdotal basis, that people are buying the dip a lot more than they used to in crypto because there are large pools of assets on the sidelines waiting to get in at good prices. And so I think the movements are a little more muted, although if you're used to kind of the stock market, it still seems, pretty active, pretty volatile, but more muted than it used to be in the crypto land.
One of the interesting one of the interesting things I've observed over the past few weeks is that, if you look at the price charts, the alts and Bitcoin have been largely moving in tandem, right? I mean, you see like either a sea of green or a sea of red. Is there anything particularly notable in the altcoin market that is like defying these larger trends? Because there seems to be a pretty high degree of correlation just across the market. Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up. Bitcoin goes down, other coins go down. Are there any altcoins that you see as sort of defying that trend, or just like interesting things in the altcoin market that people should be aware of?
Yeah, I think it's easy to look at the screens, on a given day and kind of, like you say, see the sea of red or the sea of green. But over time is where you get that differentiation. We all know that, for example, Ethereum's outperformed Bitcoin quite a bit recently. And to me, that's part of, the projects that are being built on Ethereum, the huge NFT move, DeFi, et cetera. So I think that investors should look to some of those new technologies and applications that are disintermediating, old school traditional finance, and get invested in those movements. And you may not see it on a day-to-day basis. That's why we tend to look mid to longer term, because when there's a macro bit of news, people tend to kind of sell at the margins across the board. But it's really over time that those trends emerge.
Greg, so 2021 was certainly the year of NFTs. It's the highest performing subsector in the crypto industry, and you're doubling down with a NFT fund, I hear, correct?
We are. So the NFT space is very exciting. What's interesting to me is this is digital art, and I see parallels between kind of digital gold and the discussion we've all been having around Bitcoin for years, and digital art versus traditional art. So what's happening with NFTs, I think, is here to stay. It remains to be seen exactly how that the movement continues, because you have so many different possibilities there in terms of whether it's art or something to do with music,
so how do you,
or just celebrity.
Decipher between everything that's out there and pick the winner, if you will?
You have to know what you're doing, and so you may have seen the recent announcement that we've hired a portfolio manager who's been deep in the space for a while, and we're launching our first NFT fund early next year. But our other products are beta solutions, right? And when you're thinking about investing, people talk about beta and alpha. Beta is just being long the market, index funds, a passive buy and hold strategy. And that's a great way to get access and get exposure to an asset class. But the times of outperformance have been demonstrated historically to be in markets where there's asymmetric information. And so we think NFTs is the perfect place to launch our first Alpha Strategies fund, where we're actually looking to intelligently pick the best NFTs and deliver results for investors, not just a buy and hold strategy.
Can you give us some pointers, Greg? Give me something here, some tips.
Well, look, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you two things. Number one, if people are interested, they can go to our website and send us an email, and we'll get in touch with them. But I'll tell you another thing. You definitely have to be careful in the NFT space. You can't just buy blindly. This is an art market, and art is driven by a number of qualitative aspects. Obviously, there are no discounted cash flows to work with, but we're kind of getting used to that with crypto. So art is driven by scarcity, by culture, etc. And there is a blue chip art market that's emerging in NFTs. So we're going to focus most of the fund's efforts in that direction. It's a somewhat conservative way to approach the space. We are going to take some views on emerging NFTs, though, that maybe haven't established themselves as much as, say, CryptoPunks. But I really do feel like this is an area where investors can use a skilled expert to guide them along, because there are just so many NFTs and it's proliferating that we felt, and we kept hearing this from investors, really, this is a response to our client base, that they could use access to the market. They just have no way of figuring it out. There's just too much information out there.
All right. But a lot of information out there, hard to filter it all through. But you mentioned culture, so a couple of tips there. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining us. Appreciate your insights. That was Osprey Funds CEO Greg King. Coming up, we'll be checking in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor, Nick Day. Actually, let's go straight to checking in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk, the State of Crypto newsletter. Hello there, Nick. Good to see you. So, I mean, I don't know, not too much happening over the holidays yet, but what do you forecast happening in DC in terms of regulating the crypto sector? Because we have been hearing rumblings about it.
Yeah, well, yesterday was a pretty busy day. We saw at least 3 different letters come out, 2 from the OCC, the Office of the Control of the Currency, one of which was a interpretive letter basically sort of endorsing everything that former acting comptroller Brian Brooks did, or everything that happened under his tenure last year, but also specifying that banks that do want to engage in crypto under those previous interpretive letters have to seek permission from their regulator and get a approval before they can begin offering crypto custody or purchase or similar services. We also finally have a timeline for how a joint interagency bank regulatory group might look at this. The OCC, the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation said that in 2022, across 2022 at least, they're going to provide further clarity about how banking institutions can engage in crypto and, what is legal, what's permissible, what isn't. Not a lot of details, honestly. It was a very short document. It was 2 pages, but in theory, in 12 months or so, we'll have a better sense of what banks can or cannot do if they want to be in crypto. And finally, Senator Sherrod Brown, chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, is getting after stablecoins.
I want to ask you about Sherrod Brown as well. But first, do you think that the OCC went ahead with this prior to getting a new chief? Because there might be a difference in opinion in a matter of weeks. And number two is, let's go into what Senator Brown had to say about stablecoins.
Well, with the OCC, I would be surprised if that was one of the motivating factors. Just because, they are both from the same party, and the administration has, made a pretty solid effort, I think, at trying to keep all of their stakeholders sort of aligned in terms of, what they're trying to do. But, I think to me, the key part about yesterday's guidance from the OCC is that banks do need permission now. They need an approval to do all these things that, people may or may not have assumed that they could just do after the previous interpretive letters came out. So even though this is the OCC saying, we stand by, these previous letters, that permission aspect, I think, is, the really key thing to watch out for.
And about Senator Brown.
Stablecoins.
Yeah.
So he's asking stablecoin issuers, including Circle, Coinbase, and Center, each has 3 different letters, Gemini, Paxos, Trust Token, and Binance US, as well as soon Tether, about how their stablecoins operate, how they are issued, the redemption process. Just a lot of very detailed technical questions about how they operate and how people can interact with them, as well as, what possible risk factors might be, resulting from the different mechanisms they've got. So, and I think this is a first in terms of just the sheer depth of, the questions asked, but definitely, this has its origins, I think, 2 or 3 years ago from the original Libra vision.
So I guess we'll certainly get some clarity from Tether. But in the meantime, more importantly, this weekend, it's a 4-day weekend. Are you taking any train trips?
I am not. We'll see. I don't currently have any plans to do so, but it's a 4-day weekend. Maybe.
You never know. All right, Nick. Thanks so much. A lot to be monitoring. So thanks for that update. That was CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Policy and Regulation, Nick Day. Time now to check in with Crypto Twitter with our tweet of the day. And this is from self-proclaimed Bitcoin maximalist Alan McPolo tweeting, "Finally told my parents I dumped my 401k last year in March for Bitcoin. Mom said she won't be able to sleep tonight. Happy Thanksgiving." And that's it for our first mover. If you bought a lot of Bitcoin last year, you're probably doing okay. But all right, we're off for the rest of the week. We'll be back on Monday. Thank you, Emily Parker. Thank you, Lawrence. Where will you be enjoying your Thanksgiving? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm going to be hiding in a bunker, as I normally do. I am avoiding crowds and humanity. Everybody scares
Emily?
me.
Trying to
make some turkey.
Cryptocurrency to family members, most likely, as is every year.
It's always good practice. I'll be in Puerto Rico with the crypto community here. Happy Friendsgiving, Thanksgiving. All right, I'm your host, Christine Lee.
Come on.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy Shabbat. All right. I'll be back live at 3 p.m. with all about Bitcoin. Coming up at noon is The Hash. You're watching CoinDesk TV.